Surprise is the most powerful tool in Jiu-Jitsu. If your opponent doesn't know an attack is coming, it's really difficult for them to defend it. And if you move really slow, it's hard to catch an opponent off guard with a surprise attack. Most people think you need to be extremely athletic to be more explosive. But the reality is there's actually a lot of small little technical details that will make you able to become a lot more explosive without becoming any more athletic. So first, we're gonna go through some of the core principles and mechanics at play here that makes this possible. And then I'm gonna give you guys 5 examples of how you can use this in sparring for yourself. So the first main reason people struggle being explosive is they try too hard to control their opponent. At first, that sounds like a good idea. Of course, you wanna control your opponent. But if your muscles are really contracted and you're squeezing too hard on everything you do, you lose the ability to become explosive. If you think about it, if a muscle is already contracted at say 50%, you only have 50% more that you can contract, so you can't really go that fast from there. If you start with 0 contraction in your muscle, you can go from 0 to 100, which allows you to have a lot more momentum and explosion in what you do. So often before an attack, I'll relax my muscles and then explode on the attack. Of course, sometimes you need tension in your body to control your opponent, but as you become more technical and you understand positions better, your goal is to always learn to control the positions in a way where you don't have to use much energy. And this allows you to go into more of a calm state and be more surprising with your sudden explosions and attacks. And this leads to another huge component of going into low tension, which is what it does for your cardio and your energy efficiency. A huge component of fighting in Jiu-Jitsu is not just fighting strength, but it's fighting cardio. You don't want to always have to be in triathlon shape to be able to fight. If you think back to your first Jiu-Jitsu session, remember how tired you were after training? That's not completely because you've never trained before, or maybe you're non-athletic. Maybe some of you even already trained another sport, but you were dead when you first did Jiu-Jitsu. That's usually because you're being really wasteful with your energy and using way too much strength in wrong situations that don't make sense. But of course, you don't know the positions that well, so you don't know what to do. But as you learn more Jiu-Jitsu, you learn how to be more energy efficient and not waste energy. So the first situation I really like to use this is in any form of sleeve control. Often when we're attacking in an open guard, we're looking to disconnect the elbow and knee space because this opens up omoplatas, triangle chokes, even arm bars. But if your opponent's elbow is attached to their knee, there's no space to do it. And if you pull hard on the sleeve, usually people keep their elbow tight to defend. So what I like to focus on is when I have the sleeve, I focus on a grip where I take the slack out of their sleeve so they can't loop my wrist. And I actually don't pull too hard on the arm. I just relax in the position. When you relax, your opponent will usually relax as well because it feels weird to pull as hard as you can when your opponent's not even pulling on your sleeve. And this makes it super surprising when you suddenly rip on their arm to open the space to go for a triangle or an omoplata. I often use this in collar sleeve where I have my right hand in the cross collar, my left hand on the sleeve, and when I pull, I lift my hip up in the air and it traps their elbow in front of my hips so they can't pull it back, and I latch a triangle choke over from there. You can also use this to go for an omoplata. In double sleeve, when I'm holding both sleeves and I kind of relax and then I suddenly pull both elbows high, exposing the elbow space, and I shoot my hips in the air. In this case, I latch my right leg over my opponent's neck so that I can control posture, and then I push his arm across the body to pull him down to finish the triangle choke. Of course, these positions are really in depth, and I have separate videos breaking those down as well. I'm just talking about the power of this mechanic as it's seen across multiple different situations. Along with the sleeve and wrist control, I like to use this with the arm drag as well. Very often when people go for an arm drag, they try to really control the wrist or the sleeve before they go for the attack. And this usually triggers your opponent that you're about to do it. And of course they resist or pull their elbow tight. So what I do is as I'm in the grip fight, I'm just looking for any grip I can get. If the sleeve or the wrist passes through the plane where I can make a quick grip on it, I'll push their wrist towards the center of their body and use my cross arm to grab behind their tricep and pull. This creates a nice handlebar wedge on the tricep I can use. And when I do it going from 0 to 100 explosively, it's super fast. Once I yank them across, I'll often kick out the far leg, and now I can either latch my left arm around their back far hip and then come up towards the back. Or if I feel like that's not available, I can use it to come up into a single leg and take down from there. Another powerful situation to use this is with collar grips. I'll often use this in a loop choke. So when you grab the collar, usually people can tell that you're about to go for some kind of a choke or some kind of a threat, especially if he starts pulling super hard on their posture. So if they come down low or they're on the floor and I have collar and sleeve control, I'll often kind of relax my arm and I kind of focus on maybe pulling on the sleeve a little bit or having a little bit of pressure on their hip with my left foot, and my right arm is very relaxed. This will calm them down and make them feel there's no threat coming. And when I feel their head drops below a certain level, or if they pull their elbow tight because they're worried about an omoplata, I'll suddenly sit up and shoot my left arm over the back of their neck and through under my arm to finish the loop choke. Here I usually throw my right leg over their shoulder to get the finish so they can't roll all the way out. Perhaps one of my favorite ways to use this is in any form of leg drag or toreando pass. Often when people are controlling the legs, they try to like press the shins down or they try to really control it. And this immediately makes your opponents start looping their legs and going in to defend. So what I'll often do is I come in and I control the pants, but I don't want too much tension. I don't want them to feel there's really a danger. And if I detect that there's an angle I can clear, I'll explosively shoot the legs to the side and walk around. From here, I can either shoot my knee in and pin the bottom leg, which would be more for a leg drag style finish, or I can push the legs and drop level and drive in hard with my shoulder, making it more of a toreando style finish. If they go to frame on my shoulder, I try to hit really hard on the hand with the shoulder. I call this principle frame cracking, and this will eliminate their frame and allow you to close the distance. Of course, if they hold your sleeves or they're holding a grip, they may have no frame, so it's easy to get around in the first place. Another cool variation of this is if my opponent's legs are a little more extended, sometimes it's hard to walk around the legs because they're in the way of you. So I'll explosively pop the legs forward first, pushing his knees to his chest, and now it clears the space for me to push the legs to the side to clear to get around. Again, if I do this slowly when I push, they react and put their feet in my biceps or loop over my grips. But by being in low tension, when I explode, they don't have the time to respond in time to start defending, and it allows me to get further through on clear angles. Also, if my opponent's legs are high, I can use this to explosively go for a stack pass. If I go for the stack pass slowly, usually he'll drop his tailbone to the floor. There's a big pattern here where if their tailbone's down on the mat, I can usually use this to work around the legs as their hips and legs are slightly less mobile. But when the hips are in the air, they have more mobility, but it makes explosively going for a stack pass much easier. So if I detect the hips in the air, I drop and drive really fast into a stack, and I can finish with diving back takes or classic stack pass finishes. Finally, one of my favorite ways to use this is in drop pass variations. And when I say drop pass, what I mean is timing an opponent's pull on my collar to drop in on a guard pass. This is such a powerful mechanic, and I'm probably gonna do an entire video on it soon. Be sure to leave a comment and let me know if you'd like to see that. But it's basically the idea that when your opponent is framing on you, you can't get close. But when they pull on the collar, which they often will to try to off balance you, there's actually no frame because their arm's pulling, they can't be pushing. And it makes huge openings for guard passes become available by dropping in and clubbing. You can do this in De La Riva guard. If they pull on the collar, I drop. I can do it from a knee cut position to drop in on a long step. I can even do it to drop in on a folding pass, even progressing straight to mount. But if you're too tense, it's hard to feel the timing of the pull. When you're relaxed in these different positions and you wait for their movement and you feel that pull, you'll be super fast at capitalizing on it, putting them in a really dangerous passing position without them even seeing it coming. Of course, there's way more situations you can do this. You can use it in a lot of different takedown situations. I see people in judo do this all the time. I might even have one of my students come on soon and show some high-level judo stuff where you can use this. Let me know if you like this format of video, if you have any future requests on principles, mechanics, or techniques, or any different style of video you'd like to see. And as always, if you guys like the content, like, share, subscribe to help support the channel. Thanks a lot.